At Bosch, we're also anchored by our values, because values, one of the key aspects is that it shouldn't change, even if your company strategy or the market environment changes, but the core values of the company remain constant. So that helps to anchor every associate to the, let's say, company culture of the company. Of course, all companies have had to, let's say, do short-term adjustments to adjust to the current situation. Of course, doing cost control and let's say, prioritizing. But I think the key message for me is always to hold to the long-term view and the long-term strategy and make sure that we continue to invest in those sectors, because that will be the only way to ensure long-term success. So Bosch is a German company. We have over 130 years of history. It's quite a diversified company. We're an industrial technology group. We're divided into 4 business sectors: the automotive sector, or mobility sector as we call it now, the industrial technology sector, energy and building technologies, and the consumer goods sector. Innovation is, of course, one of the key driving factors for our continuing success, and we invest 8 to 10% of our annual revenues on R&D. I think that's a quick nutshell about who and what Bosch as a company globally is. So as I mentioned, we are already quite diversified with the 4 business sectors. So this gives us a good footprint, let's say, into different domains and different verticals and different industries. I would say that one of the key parts, as I mentioned already, is R&D. And one of the leading, let's say, strategical directions is to be a leading AIoT company, which is in AI and in the field of the Internet of Things. We are well positioned in this segment because we are already a key manufacturer of sensors, which is one of the components for Internet of Things. So sensors are like the eyes and ears that are able to gather the raw data, let's say from machines and so on. And then we are also a key investor or developer in terms of software. We invest around 3.7 billion euros annually on software development. We have over 30,000 people in our software engineering group, and I think over 1,000 are focused on AI alone. In the sensors area, we produce, I think, at least 4 million MEM sensors. These are called micro electromechanical sensors every day. You find them actually in all smartphones. So I think 3 out of 4 smartphones, you will find some Bosch sensor inside. So we're quite well positioned to really take a lead in terms of the field of AI and IoT. Well, we have a target that by 2025, all Bosch products either will have some AI capability or will have been produced or developed with the help of AI. At Bosch, we have a vision and a mission, and this is communicated, of course, to every associate globally. And of course, we're also anchored by our values, because values, one of the key aspects is that it shouldn't change, even if your company strategy or the market environment changes, but the core values of the company remain constant. So that helps to anchor every associate to the, let's say, company culture of the company. However, we also try to drive an innovation culture. And in terms of driving innovation, then it's not done in a top-down manner. We have, for example, a Bosch Accelerator program, an internal program that we do to try to look for ideas. You can call it like an internal startup program. So we try to get ideas from all associates globally to try to pitch ideas, and the ones that look promising and so on would then get seed funding from the company, and hopefully they can then develop this idea and scale it into a viable business. So that helps us, of course, to drive an innovation culture, at the same time be able to draw from the, let's say, the knowledge and the ideas of all associates globally, and not just from the headquarters. So I think in this way, we are able to then maintain this kind of culture all throughout the company in the world. Yeah, as we know, COVID-19 has affected everyone in the world. And we tried to then adapt some of our solutions to address the COVID situation. So in our energy and building technology sector, we have our building technology division, which also is involved in security cameras. So we already have intelligent video analytics in those cameras, and we adapted it, for example, for our crowd density analytics. Then location, stores, and so on can use that to try to manage the crowd density, coming into their venues, and stores. For example, to enable, for example, sufficient social distancing. So you know that I can only have how many people coming into my store to ensure that the proper social distancing can be maintained. So these kind of solutions that we offer enable them to manage this by allowing them access into the data. Then they know how many people should be there, and then how much they should say, okay, then we have to take this is enough, then we have to wait and monitor the crowd density in the place. We also, of course, have launched our smart campus solutions. This is launched in Southeast Asia. Aside from the crowd density that I mentioned, we also offer solutions such as air quality monitoring, light monitoring and control, asset tracking, for example, and even lift monitoring. So lift monitoring using sensors, of course, and software algorithms, we can remotely monitor the usage of the elevators in the buildings, and that enables solutions like predictive maintenance, because then you know which lifts are heavily used, which means that they probably need to be serviced more often, and the ones that are not so utilized, then you can calibrate the maintenance schedules accordingly. So this helps to increase efficiency, save cost, and avoid expensive breakdowns. So these are just some examples. Aside from that, we're also active in the smart manufacturing sector. So Industry 4.0, as they call it in Europe. So this is, again, solutions using sensors and software to provide the transparency in terms of what's going on the production line, and helping to increase efficiency, conserve energy, and really ensure that the production lines are operating at optimum efficiency. And this can be done remotely, so you don't have to go down to the line to check what's going on. And we don't only just provide these solutions, we actually use them in our own factories as well. So not just being a key solution provider, we are also a key user of the technologies that we develop. So I think this is a strong endorsement of the solutions that we offer to the industry. Okay. Well, I think the key point is, one, of course, all companies have had to, let's say, do short-term adjustments to adjust to the current situation. Of course, doing cost control and let's say, prioritizing where we should continue to invest, where we should spend, and where we could probably try to adapt and slow down. I think at the end, it's all about really looking into our long-term strategy, evaluating, are there any long-term changes to the business and market environment because of, for example, COVID? Is it a short-term effect, or will it really create long-lasting changes? Then we can try to adapt or calibrate our strategies based on that. But I think always trying to hold into the long-term view, and ensuring that we continue to invest in the technologies are meeting the long-term trends. And again, it's also about prioritization. Just to prioritize where we should then be utilizing our resources more, and the ones where, okay, this could be second or third priority and can be delayed or done at a later time. I think there's no one easy answer, and every company will have to figure this out themselves internally. But I think the key message for me is always to hold to the long-term view and the long-term strategy, and make sure that we continue to invest in those sectors, because that will be the only way to ensure long-term success. Yes, I mean, just to mention maybe some long-term trends, of course, in the mobility sector, we do see transformation of the industry. There's increasing electrification or trend towards new types of powertrain technologies, including hydrogen, for example. So we are investing in those domains, and also in the field of driver assistance and autonomous driving, for example. I think this is also a long-term trend, and we continue to invest. And I would say a big overarching factor that I think all companies should consider is the environment or the climate. I think you hear it all the time, ESG. So I think all companies should adopt a long-term strategy on how to address this factor, because I think this will be one of the key driving forces far into the future, and all companies must be prepared for this. And for Bosch, we definitely have a clear vision to be a carbon neutral company, and that will drive, of course, our long-term investments and strategy going forward.